Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Super Lunch Roast Podcast, episode number 98. I am Brendan. We're going to go for a second one of these this week. We're going to go over UFC 271 and go over some of the news from the weigh-ins, which happened today. We are going to go over some other MMA news, some things that just got booked, and we'll break down some of the fight. I say break down, but I mean that loosely. We'll just go over, maybe tail of the tape, but really what we're going to be doing is, hey, what are the paths to victory for certain guys? All right, before we get started, please, I would really appreciate it if you like the video. Please press the like button, and if you like hearing about MMA, I put one of these out every single week. This week was a little bit odd. I am doing more than one because normally I post on Sunday. This Sunday coming up, I will be in another state, so I will not be doing that. I will be posting on Monday, covering the recap of 271. So until then, please subscribe so you know when it's coming, and I really appreciate it. Let's get in here. All right, so obviously the main event, Israel Atasania taking on Robert Whittaker at UFC 271. It is taking place in Houston. This is a rematch for those of you guys who don't know. For those of you who do know, Robert Whittaker was knocked out pretty viciously in the first competition between these two. Robert Whittaker was the champ at the time, and since then has gone on I would say a tear, because he's won, right? He hasn't lost since then, even though he hasn't had a finish or anything like that. He hasn't shown a regression. He hasn't shown that he's lost his chin. He hasn't shown that he has lost his nerve. He hasn't shown any sort of negative outcomes from the Atasania fight. I don't necessarily think that he's shown a big improvement in his skill set or strategy or anything like that, although I do believe it is better than it was before. This fight is going to be interesting because Adesanya is very good. Okay, he's coming from one of the best camps in city kickboxing as far as putting together game plans. They're very good at that, if not the best at that right now. They are so good at playing the angles, both literally and figuratively. They are good at identifying weaknesses of their opponents, making sure that you exploit those weaknesses and take as little damage as possible. They also have an incredible stable of fighters, with Volkanovski, Brad Riddell, Adesanya, Kai Kara-France, all these guys who, Dan Hooker, these just killers, right? It's an excellent gym. They're doing really good work. Obviously, the fighters make the gym. The gym doesn't make the fighters, but I think there is a lot of synergy that is going on there. And Adesanya has benefited greatly from that. So has he improved since their first meeting? Well, since he fought Robert Whittaker, he had the snooze fest with Yoel Romero. I will not hear it. I refuse to hear anybody telling me that Yoel Romero won that fight. You're not going to sit there and stand around and do nothing. And Yoel Romero did absolutely nothing. Okay, if you look at that fight and his following fights, Romero has just been putting up stinkers. Okay, so yeah, the Costa fight wasn't super interesting, but Adesanya got the finish, and the Blachowicz fight was somewhat entertaining. Whereas Romero's fights since then have been stinkers. Okay, so he gets a knockout over Whittaker, the decision win, rightfully so, over Romero in a lackluster performance in which Romero is super racist afterwards against Africans, by the way. And nobody brings that up because Romero has darker skin and he's from Cuba. So, it's fine. They're talking about how Adesanya's ancestors are runners. Holy shit. That's not okay. I'm not one of those people who need the thought or censorship police. I'm not one of those people. I just think the lack of discussion about it was kind of telling about how the double standard based off of where you're from and what you're allowed to say. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't care. I just think that what Romero said was super racist, but nobody mentions anything about it. Anyway, Paulo Costa, he ends up finishing in the second round, in kind of a boring first round, and then he catches Costa behind the ear, puts him down, and then humps him. So that was fun. He fought Jan Blachowicz when he went up to challenge for the light heavyweight belt, and he lost every single round, in my opinion. The announcers, the commentary was heavily in the favor of Israel Adesanya, but if you go back and look at those striking numbers, I mean, you know what? This is going to be dangerous. Let's see if this works. Oh, see, I knew it. Yep, that needs to be smaller. All right, but if you go back and look at the striking numbers, Adesanya was beaten in every single round of that fight by Blachowicz. So, yes, Blachowicz was larger. Yes, Blachowicz got him to the ground and controlled him. And obviously, 7 minutes of control time there, so that was a big deal. But he also outstruck him, okay, on the feet even. All right, at distance, Jan Blachowicz, 85 to Adesanya, 77. Okay, I don't want to hear it. Okay, I'm a huge fan of Israel Adesanya. I don't want to sound like I'm just shitting on the guy, because I'm not. I think Adesanya is a generational talent. He's absolutely fantastic. I think he's a great champion. He's fun to watch. He's fun to listen to. He's a fun guy. He's nerdy. He's got all the right things. He's got all the stuff going for him. I think it's great. What I don't like is this blind fandom behind him just throwing out nonsense to explain away a loss. You know, it can also be that, yes, that Blachowicz was bigger and was able to hold him and do stuff, and that was part of Adesanya's plan, was to deal with the size in a different way. He just didn't get it done. But he was just beaten by a better fighter on that night, and part of it was the size. Whatever. Okay, fine. Don't try to explain it away and say, oh, Jan's just a bigger guy, that's why he won. Bullshit. He beat him in every way imaginable. But this fight is not so then he also fought Marvin Vettori. Pretty boring fight, right? Not super interesting either. Vettori got a few takedowns, wasn't able to maintain the control. As far as on the feet, it was a huge advantage for Adesanya. I think it might have been at one point Vettori. Yeah, the last round. You know, it wasn't a complete blowout. I think, if you just look at the striking numbers, the second round was the biggest blowout for Adesanya, in 28-16. But what is Whittaker going to do in this one different than he did in the first one to get this win? All right, so the key is going to be patience. Adesanya likes to bait people in and counter them, right? That's why the Romero fight was so boring, is because Romero refused to engage unless he just blitzed in, and he landed a few shots in those cases, but he didn't really do any damage. And you know, this is graded round by round, okay? If you lose 4 rounds, you lose the fucking fight. Unless you had, it's just the way it is, okay? It's how MMA scoring works. So, in this scenario, what does Whittaker got to do here? In my opinion, watching their performances since then, we didn't go over Robert Whittaker's. Robert Whittaker has beaten Darren Till, Jared Cannoneer, Kelvin Gastelum, all by decision, all dominant performances, okay? It just outstanding performances through and through. Just running roughshod through the division. Every single challenger they throw at him, he's beating. So what is he going to do? Patience. Okay, patience is a huge key here. Not falling into Adesanya's game. Not allowing him. I mean, it's going to be hard not to let Adesanya dictate the pace, because he's going to want to counter. Unless he comes out and does something totally unorthodox for himself and just super blitz and attack. I don't think Adesanya is going to be doing that based off of all of his fights in the UFC so far. So looking at this one, Whittaker needs to be patient, look for openings, okay, and he's got to extend his combinations, because Adesanya is great in the pocket. Okay, he's great at dodging and moving just out of the way and knowing where your next shot is. So doubling up on hooks, doubling up on jabs, and throwing unorthodox striking from the same side where he can catch Adesanya. He can catch Adesanya mid-dodge, or throwing off-pace strikes, right? Similar to how the Diaz brothers do, right? Or they don't throw 1-2, 1-2 like a lot of people. Even when you are hitting the heavy bag or practicing striking or whatever, often it's jab straight, jab straight, jab straight, hook, jab straight. So it has a cadence to it. Whereas if you watch the Diaz brothers go, it's jab straight. It's coming right behind it. Okay, they're throwing almost at the same time, and it throws off the rhythm. So that is something he could do. I don't know if that's a strategy that he's going to do, but something similar to that could help. Working in his grappling, which was not effective in the first one. If he can push his way to the inside, okay, extend a couple combinations, he might get caught, right? He might just get sparked in the first fucking 30 seconds, and then all this is moot, and it doesn't matter. There's a good chance Adesanya wins this fight. Whittaker needs to take his time, extend his combinations, stay away from the blitzing, because I don't think that works with Adesanya. I think if your best case scenario is a 50-50, I think Adesanya is it's just the pendulum swings so far in his favor because he's used to those blitzes. I mean, it's probably 80-20. So you have a 20% chance of connecting, let alone connecting with a good shot or good enough to do any sort of damage. And then on top of that, he might still be hitting you, and that's kind of what happened in the first one. Whittaker's blitzes were a little haphazard, and he's taken damage against other fighters doing that, but he was able to stay in the pocket or do enough damage himself to outweigh anything that was coming back at him. And I don't think that's the path to victory against Adesanya. I think you have to win a war of attrition. I mean, obviously, anybody can throw one big punch and try to get a knockout, so that's always a strategy. I just don't think that's a consistent winning strategy, okay? It's just not. Right? Your consistent winners in MMA usually have multiple ways to win a fight. Right? Now, obviously, there's exceptions, and as you get into the heavier weight classes, especially heavyweight, which we'll talk about in the co-main event here, different strategies work all the time because, you're dealing with a lot less athleticism, not the best athletes in the world, and a lot more mass getting thrown in your direction. So the odds are skewed heavily all over the place because just the different math that goes into it. Okay, it's just physics. All right, I still favor Adesanya in this fight. Right, I think I favor him probably 60-30 or 60-40. Right? I don't think it's a 50-50 fight. I mean, maybe 70-30. That's the way I lean. I lean towards Adesanya. Okay? I just haven't seen... I haven't seen Adesanya improve. That last fight versus Vettori was a real stinker, so maybe that's an indicator that, Whittaker does have an opening here. Is Whittaker a better fighter or a better stylistic matchup than Marvin Vettori for Adesanya? I don't know. Because Vettori can take damage, and Whittaker can as well. And that's the other thing is, maybe in that first one, coming off of those Yoel Romero wins, Whittaker took a lot of damage, and it could have screwed up his chin. So what I'm hoping for, most likely in my head, what I'm imagining happening is a much more competitive fight than the first one. One in which Adesanya works the angles, both literally and figuratively, and it gets a decision win here. That's generally in my head how I see this going. Obviously, a knockout could occur in either way, but that's how I see it. Do I think Whittaker can win? Absolutely. I really do. Especially if he really presses the wrestling and maintains control, which is very hard against Adesanya. That's why it's not, the easiest path to victory. But I think it is possible for Whittaker to win this fight. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Adesanya keeps a belt. But yeah, who am I rooting for? Whittaker. And it's not because I don't like Adesanya. I really do. It's just Whittaker's one of those guys where I could never root against him. A family man who takes his time with it, away from the sport to spend time with his family. He's had a lot of ups and downs. He's rebuilt himself in a different weight class. He was the champion. He seemingly gets forgotten as far as in conversation as champion because of the way Adesanya dismantled him, which, The way Adesanya's beating everybody, I don't think that's fair. But, what Whittaker has done, you can't turn your nose up at it. It's fantastic. That being said, Adesanya has done more and better because he's the champion. Okay, I think if their roles were reversed or, Adesanya didn't have the belt or whatever, could Whittaker still be the champion? Probably. I think he still beats pretty much everybody in the division like he has been. So, these two, we're dealing with a Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski situation here. I'm rooting for Whittaker. I'm not rooting against Adesanya. Let's put it that way. Okay, my gut tells me Adesanya is winning this fight. I will be pleasantly surprised if Whittaker wins because then we get a third one, and I'd be super pumped for that. All right, let's talk about the co-main event. We got Derrick Lewis taking on Tai Tuivasa. So here we go again with a Derrick Lewis fight. What do you think is going to happen? I'll give you a minute if you'd like. Do you think it's going to be a technical masterpiece, just showmanship of the highest level for striking in MMA? No, fuck no, it's not, right? You're going to have Derrick Lewis throwing big, stupid shit and hoping Tai Tuivasa gets backed up against the cage and doesn't throw back, and then he catches him, right? Tai Tuivasa does not have the best chin. I mean, he has an okay chin. He's not chinny, right? But Derrick Lewis hits hard. Derrick Lewis doesn't have the best chin in the world either, but he just doesn't get cracked that much. A lot of the guys don't want to sit in there and bang with him. They got to get a technical win. Anyway, who would I favor in this? Probably Lewis, right? I think he hits harder than Tuivasa, but this is stupid. I wouldn't put money on this fight at all. It's just it's total nonsense. It is I mean, heavyweight MMA is so dumb. I don't mean it like I don't enjoy it. Of course I enjoy watching the fights. What I mean is it's so dumb, right? Like the build up to it and all this other stuff, like the technical breakdowns and all these things. For some fighters, it makes sense, when you got Alistair Overeem or Cyril Gane. I mean, even that last fight with Cyril Gane and Francis Ngannou, although very surprising. It's just there's certain things that happen, right, that you're just like, what did I just watch? When Arlovski took on what's his frickin' face, Travis Brown, right, and then just that chaos that ensued in that first round. Get out of here if you tell me that is anything other than nonsense and stupid. Fun stupid, right? I like watching stupid things. Do not get it twisted. I am not here shitting on the heavyweight division as far as enjoyment. Although I will tell you that this could just be a giant fucking stinker too, because heavyweight is known for that, right? Everybody's talking about how this fight can't go the distance and there's no way this gets out of the first round. And for sure, someone's getting knocked out. These guys hit so hard. And then what do we end up with? 3 rounds of nothing. Super boring. Guys get gassed out really easy because they're not in good fucking shape. They're not athletes the way that they should be. And you just end up with sloppy bullshit. So I would lean towards Derrick Lewis. I think Tai Tuivasa makes for more interesting matchups that we haven't seen before if he gets the win here. So I think if you're rooting for Tuivasa, I don't hate Derrick Lewis. In fact, I don't care who wins this fight. I want to see something fun, right? I'd like to enjoy this one. All right, let's go with another fight here. Jared Cannoneer versus Derek Brunson. Blonde Brunson trying to get it done again. So Derek Brunson is on a tear in the middleweight division. Not unlike, the caliber of opponent is much lower than Whittaker until recently, but the amount of wins is more, right? So he had the loss to Souza, okay? He had the loss to Israel Adesanya back in 2018 and hasn't lost since then, beating Elias Theodoro Ian Heinisch, Edmund Shabazian, Kevin Holland, Darren Till. So Darren Till, like Edmund Shabazian is the up-and-comer, and we can throw this up here for you guys. So Edmund Shabazian was the up-and-comer, all the new hotness, and he just wasn't ready for the Brunson, the heat that Brunson was bringing. The Ian Heinisch fight, that's, Ian Heinisch is one of those journeyman fighters. Elias Theodorou, same thing. And then Kevin Holland, again, new hotness, and Brunson shut that down. Darren Till, very technical middleweight here. Now we're looking at someone in the top 10 with top 5 possible skills, and he beat him. Okay? And he actually got the finish in the 3rd round. So he's been doing unbelievably well. Jared Cannoneer, he's had some ups and downs, but overall, still a lot of wins, right? Getting the win over David Branch back in 2018 doesn't mean much anymore. It meant something at the time. The win over Anderson Silva via the injury thing, that was weird. The Jack Hermanson win was very good. The loss to Robert Whittaker is nothing to turn your nose up at, because he is the 2nd best, possibly after this weekend, the best in the division. And then the win over Calvin Gastelum, who is a tough out on any night for anybody. I would lean towards Cannoneer in this one. I think he has the tools to get this one done. As much as I love Brunson and I love this new thing, and I'd love to see him come out with a win and get a rematch and all that other stuff, I think Jared Cannoneer has the tools to get this one done. Let's see. Alexander Hernandez taking on Hanato Moicano. That one will be fun. I don't have much to say on that one. I do obviously know of the fighters. I know the fight, but we don't have to talk about it. Also, it's interesting that he was bitching about being on the early prelims, but he got moved. I think he got moved. Based off of how this is listing here, I hope he got moved to the main card, so that's cool. Bobby Green taking on Nasrat Haqparast. That should be a banger. Honestly, that might be my pick for fight of the night. Holy shit. Wow. Yeah, Nasrat Haqparast, if you don't know, he's the lightweight who looks like a mini Kelvin Gastelum. Really good cardio, crazy striking, just throws it all out there, loves to bang, right? And you got Bobby Green, who has he's the not protege necessarily, but coming from the Diaz team, fights a lot like them, talks all the shit, throws the stuff out there, and has done extremely well for himself recently. Obviously, coming off of a good year in 2020, getting 3 wins in a row, and then losing to Thiago Moises, but that wasn't not a bad loss, and then losing to Rafael Fiziev. Not a bad loss, by the way. It was a very close fight, especially in the later rounds, if I remember correctly. Yes. Oh, no. The first 2. Anyway, the reason why Green lost that fight was just the damage that Fiziev was throwing back at him. And then Bobby Green getting the win over Ali Quinta, which doesn't mean that much. So where do I feel like he fits in this division? He's the guy who can put stuff together against a journeyman and the guys outside the top 15. But every time he steps into the top 15, top 10 type that situation, he can't string wins together. So Nasrat Haqparast, I think, is he ranked? I don't know if he's ranked. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I think this one could be fight of the night. That's the one I'm watching for fight of the night there. Andre Arlovski taking on Jared Vandara. So Andre Arlovski, here, you guys want to see something fun? Look at this. All right, so he's taking him. By the way, he's on a 2-fight win streak there, folks. You want to? You think I'm crazy? I think it was either 2 years ago. I think I might have mentioned it again a year ago. I said that there was a situation and a scenario in which Andre Arlovski could get a title shot again, even after losing to Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Right, so that was back in 2019. So 3 years ago. I had to have said it back then. Yeah, dude, I say it every time after his fights. because it's just something that sounds so crazy, but it's possible. It's heavyweight, and it's Andre fucking Arlovski. He's got like one of the oldest names in the division, and that's why I want to show you this. So this weekend he's taking on Jared Vandara. So that'll be fun. It is what it is. Whatever. He's got the win over Carlos Felipe and Chase Sherman, who are two. Chase Sherman is a shit show, but Carlos Felipe is not a bad fighter. You know, I think he has a lot of work that can be done. The loss to Tom Aspinall, who is an up-and-comer. The win against Tanner Bozer and Philip Lenz. Lost to Jairzinho Rosenstruck. Again, that's a top 5 guy now. Beat the win over Ben Rothwell. He had this loss streak, these losses over here, some wins, some losses, 4 wins. That's when he came back to the UFC. This is when he was in Strikeforce. This is Elite XC, Affliction. Oh, this is back in UFC. Holy shit, what year are we in? Oh my God. I know when he came to the UFC, I just think it's funny that we are looking at a record this long, which includes Zuffa, stuff under the Zuffa banner, right? And then his fight starting in the year 2000 against Aaron Brink. He's fighting against guys like Rico Rodriguez, Pedro Hizzo. Boy, if you know those names, like back in the day, you know, his wars with not wars, but his fights with Tim Sylvia. It's just nuts, man. You know, it's just how long he's been doing it. So, yeah, I'll be damned if I'm not rooting for him this weekend. And then last one I really want to touch on because she is a pioneer, and those of you who know Roxanne Matafari, who has been fighting for 1,000 years now. Made her debut, I think her professional debut back in like 2003. So, you know, got that Arlovski vibe to her, but, you know, women's MMA wasn't involved with the UFC yet. So there's the reason why her record isn't as long, right? Like, it's just not going to be because women's MMA didn't exist in the UFC yet. So her Strikeforce stuff counts in here. And yeah, like, you know, she's not the most winningest fighter, right? She's 25-20. And, you know, she is the perennial journeyman. But, you know, she's gone win-loss, and then obviously finishing the last 2 with losses. She has wins over Antonina Shevchenko, Macy Barber, okay, Andrea Lee. It's just let's put it this way. Roxanne Matafari has maximized her potential. I think I talked about this before, but it's worth repeating because she said that this will be her retirement fight. So this is her last fight against Casey O'Neill, which she most likely will lose, but it's Roxanne Matafari. Like, she finds ways to win because she just doesn't give up. She doesn't fucking quit in there. She takes punishment like no other. She works harder or as hard as everyone else, both in and out of the octagon. You watch her work. She is not physically gifted. She is not athletic. She doesn't have like the classical beauty thing to sponsor, like get sponsors and shit like fucking Paige Van Zandt and Rachel Ostoviches and all these people who leave the UFC and go make money just based off of showing pictures of their boobs, right? Or cleavage, really, in their butts. And I'm not here to poo-poo that. You know, you make money how you need to make money, and you know, set up yourself and your family for the future. That's all good, well and good. I'm not saying that. I just mean compared to the fight world, right? So Roxanne Matafari has had to make her money in the fucking trenches. Okay, she has worked for everything that she's gotten. I think recently she just had to get a new car. I think she was driving a Honda Civic forever, and now I think she got a Corolla, or maybe it's reversed. Maybe she had a Corolla and now she's got a Civic. She's not some lavishly living individual. She's just down to earth, hardworking, a pioneer of the sport, and for all intents and purposes, seems to be a really good individual. It's hard not to root for her. It's hard not to root for her this weekend. This is what happens when someone maximizes their potential and their potential wasn't that high. Okay? Like, if you want to see what is possible, she's made it to the highest level of MMA through sheer force and time. Okay? She's just put in the fucking time, got to where she was because she worked really hard and did it for long enough. It's really what it is. Okay? And yeah, she didn't win a title, although she did fight for one. And yeah, she's not, doesn't have a giant highlight reel. It doesn't matter. Okay? Her career has been as good as it could have been because of the work that she did. That's what it is. I'm very excited to watch that fight because I'll be rooting for her. There's some other fights that we don't have to go over. All right, so a couple things did happen, though. William Knight missed weight by 12 fucking pounds for light heavyweight. He came in at 218. Took the fight on 2 weeks' notice. I understand that's great. Okay, he's stepping in on short notice to fill a fight. Don't take a fight if you can't make the weight. Okay, it's fucking cheating. It's stupid. And also, you could just be screwing up the card. You could be screwing up the other fighter anyway who doesn't need to make this weight cut to begin with. Okay, and yeah, you're helping someone get a paycheck, whatever. So he has to give up 40% of his purse, and the fight is now at heavyweight. It's weird. It's stupid. I think, this. I don't think he has a history of this. It's just a weird situation where he missed weight by over 10% of his weight. It's unreal. It's unacceptable. This is stupid. He should not have been. He should not have said yes. Okay, I'm not against you taking a short notice fight, or I'm not against you trying to cut weight. And obviously, shit happens. But using the excuse of, I took this fight on 2 weeks' notice, that's why I couldn't make weight. Then don't take the fight because you can't. You can't fight. You legally can't fight where you said you were going to. This is dumb. Alex Perez missed weight, so the fight against Schnell is off. He only missed weight by 2 pounds, but Max Schnell said no. Smart, dumb, don't care. I wrote Arlovski doing the damn thing. And that is it for this card. I am very excited to watch this one when I get around to it. I'm hoping I can watch it live, but I might be busy. All right. Curtis Blades got a fight against Dawkins, which is pretty fun, on March 26th. And Rosenstruck is taking on Tybura at UFC 273. That was just added, so that's April 9th. So that'll be fun. Cool. We're going to cut it there. There's no reason to extend this any further. I will go over these fights after they happen. I hope that you guys have a great weekend. I hope that you guys enjoy the fights. And I hope you guys really, you know what? I hope you guys find more enjoyment out of this card than I was shitting on it. Because I just realized now I went back. I might have shit on some of these fights probably too much. Maybe not. I don't know. Fuck it, whatever. No, I hope you guys have a great time. I hope you guys have someone to watch it with. You get to enjoy the weekend wherever you are. And that's it. Please. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Like and subscribe. If you made it this far, why haven't you liked the video? Please subscribe to the channel. I do this all the time. It means a lot to me. All right.